Martial World Teyvat Chapter 20, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Keqing's question of using my spiritual energy gathering grouping system or the SEGGS was easily answered as I shrugged with a wry smile. I mean, sure, if you want to, it's not like I or even you could use all the spirit stones we are mining up. I finished bluntly, with Keqing's flushed face twitching at the reminder of how, with 0 workers and only using useless monster flesh as fuel, we were mining up a literal fortune we couldn't even use on ourselves in time. I sighed and laid down on beanbag-like chair I made that was stuffed with the spirit stones, with my face grimacing at how uncomfortable laying on a stretchy bag of literal rocks were. But in the pursuit of infinite power and lifespan, I was willing to take this terrible agony in this journey. A snort rang out as Keqing muttered with a hiss. That look of discomfort is disgusting. It makes me want to smack you for how blessed you are to have all those spirit stones. I quickly retorted. And does Ningguang sleep on a pile of spirit stones? Making Keqing's face scrunch up before she snorted as she proudly stated. No. Her personal quarters has a high-grade jade bed created from the geo-crystals that predate the forming of Celestia. I gave Keqing a dull look before saying tiredly. Keqing, life's goal shouldn't be sleeping on a shiny rock. But before our antics could continue on much longer, Keqing stilled before sighing as she grunted out with annoyance. She is here. And as though prophetic, a series of knocking rang out on the door of the metal door, and Keqing got up and opened the door for our guest. As soon as Keqing opened the door and saw the guest was who she thought it was, she grunted and stepped back with her, leaving the door open in a clear dismissal of Yelan, who came into the room with a deep pout. Don't be so rude, little Yuheng. Yelan spoke teasingly through her obviously fake pout while I took in her appearance. And besides her outfit being slightly different, she was completely the same as in the game, with shorter, very dark blue hair, and piercing slitted bright green eyes that locked onto me as she strutted in with her high heels clicking on the metal floor. So this is the little genius who has Ningguang all in a tizzy, and the Li clan hiring assassins to wipe out his past 9 generations and failing to find anyone he is related it. She spoke with a husky lit to her voice as she scanned my form and with the bits of spiritual energy in my body. I could feel her nascent soul-level soul scanning my form, looking for abnormalities, like I was some kind of old monster inhabiting this younger body or something. But after giving me a good look-see, she shrugged with a wide smile coming across her face as she rubbed her hands together. Now, I hear this little wonder has basically created infinite spirit stones, and all the spiritual energy is leaking everywhere, right? She asked before shaking her head with that wide smile growing as she laughed out. No, that question is completely unnecessary. I can already feel the spiritual energy within this dome is already a dozen times more dense than outside the dome, with 0 arrays concentrating the spiritual energy or any other natural treasures. She finished excitedly. I nodded and then spoke. That's mostly correct. There is only so much spiritual energy I can pull up from the ground at a time without diminishing its core strength with the machinery I have available. But should that threshold not be breached to harm the spiritual energy in the earth, then yes, I basically have an endless steady flow of spirit stones from lesser to medium quality. Her slitted eyes glowed as she grinned, and I grunted as a tiny sliver of her power escaped her control before she coughed and spoke. Forgive me, I was a bit too excited. Anyway, so I can set up some very powerful arrays that will run off the spirit stones you are collecting, but I need to know what level of array your spirit stone production can support. She asked more seriously, and I blinked at her question and did some quick mental math. After a moment I answered with a hum. Well, with just this single facility and the spirit stones being a byproduct of the other minerals being mined up, I have about 20 spirit stones being mined up a minute, and multiple that by the minutes in a day, which is 1440, then I am getting close to about 29,000 medium quality spirit stones a day. Yelan actually froze in place as she seemingly processed that information, with Keqing cackling and saying joyfully, "Yup, it's no joke. Come over here and look." And Keqing led us outside to where the covered conveyor belts were transporting the spirit stones from the miners. And with a single slash of her sword she slashed open the metal top of the covered conveyor belt, and thick choking white steam gushed out as the excessive spirit energy made me gag as my body burned at the power escaping and hitting my form while on the other end. Yelan and Keqing both moaned out loud as their pores greedily absorbed the thick pure spiritual energy mist that came from too many damned spirit stones being in one spot with no way to dissipate. Close it back up, Keqing. I scolded as my body itched at the overwhelming spiritual energy that surrounded me, and Keqing threw me a lidded look before pouting, and she with her hand covered in lightning squeezed the metal closed. There was a moment of silence as Yelan looked between me and the miners that made the spirit stones, and she spoke up. So Jake, have you wrote down the blueprints for your wonders? I gave her a long look before bursting into laughter before I spoke happily. Hell no. I don't want to die, so all my stuff is staying in my head, so you will have to keep my ass alive. I answered frankly, and Yelan actually nodded before sighing. Well, that's good, I suppose. Well, that means I am probably going to need to assassinate the Li clan patriarch to send a message. She finished nonchalantly, making my lips twitch, but either way she continued with a lazy tone of voice. Well, I suppose I will be creating you a lesser mountain sealing array, which will block out all living entities without a certain seal on their person. It will keep all monsters away and even hurt or kill them depending on how many spirit stones you're feeding the array as well. After a quick explanation from Yelan, I asked with some interest, as arrays heavily fascinated me, as I was well aware typical cultivation wasn't going to be in my wheelhouse with my weird physique that did better with outputting my spiritual energy into foreign objects or even people. How many spirit stones do you think I should output to it in a day? At my question she blinked before shrugging and replying with a raised eyebrow. Typically I would say a couple hundred medium spirit stones is enough to block the swarm of hellbats and other lesser horde types of monsters a night. I smiled and mentally swore to dump 5,000 spirit stones into it every day. I want to see some asshole try to break in and kill me when the barrier could keep out even a nascent soul like Yelan for a couple hours. I held out a hand and said with a wide smile, Yelan, I am glad to have met you. How about for 10,000 spirit stones? Could you make me a self-protection charm or something? Yelan's hand met my own, with her hand squeezing my own respectfully as she smiled in turn, with her eyes turning sharp as she got my hidden message. I am a good investment, please help me survive the assholes coming to ruin a good thing we can share. Oh Jake, that's no problem at all. I mean, we do want you alive, as our little Yuheng is rather valuable to Liyue, and Ningguang had all but cleared her schedule to make sure you don't have an accident after all.